Okay, hello everybody. So it seems like I have a lot more subscribers on Drunken Kiji. I'm gonna try to make the transition between my new channel a little bit slow. Anyway, today I thought it was. I was actually thinking of starting a business, building my own computers and reselling them. Uh, the main emphasis is basically getting gaming computers to people on a budget and and for the prices, I mean, honestly, like I can do the prices. The prices I can get you a good gaming rig for like let's say $600, and then maybe I could even get you a rig. Well, I mean, I can get you any price rig really. It's just that the lower you spend, the less of a deal. Well, not necessarily lower, but because you gotta, if you want to get a really good deal on a computer, you gotta, because it's not about if I can run a game. Because to be honest with you, with $100 video card, you can run Battlefield 3, and I will show you how to run Battlefield 3. It's really easy. It's like with I had my sister's 5770. It was running off an old the first generation Core i5, which is fairly fast, but even my mom's AMD 925 could run Battlefield. Now, we had a 5830 and it was on medium settings with 1920 by 1080, and we were getting about 45 frames per second. So lock that down to like 40, or you can lock it down to 30. Usually I like to lock my game down to 30 just to give myself lots of headroom so I don't get mouse lag. Because now I know I'm getting sort of sidetracked right now, but well, it's kind of not, because it's kind of with the whole point of optimizing. Um, the whole point is look, it's because if your frame rate dips, let's say I'm getting a constant 60 frames per second, and my frame rate dips to like 57 frames per second, you will notice it. It will lag your mouse a little bit. Or let's say I'm getting 30 frames per second and it drops down to 24, you'll notice it. No matter, even 1 frames per second is noticeable. It's not as noticeable, but it's noticeable. And you want it to be always. So let's say my constant frames per second is 20, not constant frames per second. And let's say my lowest frame rate is like 35 frames per second. Then usually I'll lock it to 30 frames per second, or because it's sort of like if I can't get at least 30 frames per second, I'm gonna have to lower the settings even more. And usually with $100 video card, the new 7750, you can pretty much run the games. You have a good little amount of headroom before you have to turn the settings down to low. Like you shouldn't have to play on low, but you still be able. And with that type of video card, when you lower the resolution down to like to 720p, you will notice a huge improvement in frame rate. So let's say you were getting 45 frames per second on 1920 by 1080, you're probably easily gonna get 60 at 720p. And honestly, playing 720p like 1280 by 720, that resolution, playing that it's not so bad. It's definitely it's not as clear as the 1920, but it's pretty nice. Um, but yeah, it's not as clear. You might so yeah, it's kind of like you might lose that advantage of having a sort of that feeling of being wider and having a wider field of view. But then again, the aspect ratio is like the same. I don't know. It's so yeah. So like I was saying, you only need like a $100 video card. But if you want to get that good deal that's gonna last you for many years, like until like with my GTX 680, that was kind of a bad deal. It's not a bad deal because I got screwed. It's just generally a GTX 680 is the sort of graphics card you get because I've got lots of money. I'm gonna blow it out of the way on a GTX 680. So yeah, and because basically you it's like you gotta go for the video card that has the best bang for the buck. But if you buy a video card, you gotta make it work for as last as it can, sorry, for as long as it can, because wasting money is bad. Yeah, it's true. You don't want to waste your investment. Examples like whenever I build a computer, I start out from, let's say, the case. Okay, so you get yourself a case. Now, it doesn't have to be a really, really expensive case, but it can be. I know a really good case that I can get for like right now for $50, and it's like 35 with the no, it's like 55, but like 35 with the mail-in rebate. It's like it's the Thermaltake something I can't remember. It's a Thermaltake case. I think it's got an intake fan and an outtake fan. It looks pretty nice. It looks honestly pretty sweet. hmm So yeah. Um. So I would get that, and then from there, let's say you decide to go get an AMD, because if you there's two routes to go with building a computer. You can either go the cheapest route possible, it's going to do the job, or you can go a fairly cheap route, but it's gonna be worth a lot more. Um, you could like example, the i5 2500K is the best processor for your money. It's the best, absolute best. And if you want to get every last bit out of that i5 2500K, you're going to want to get an H100. Now, H100 is $100, but the H60 is like $60, right? 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 So, so yeah, it's $60. But the thing is that the H60 is around, is about like half the surface of an H100, and it's about the same thickness. So you got basically twice the surface for cooling your CPU, and it's not twice the price, it's a little bit less than twice the price. So, it's kind of a better deal. You'll probably be able to get 5 gigahertz on all cores with that. Maybe not. I maybe wouldn't recommend you run 5 gigahertz. Maybe more like 4.8 gigahertz. But yeah, I guess that could be worth the money. So imagine this: you buy you buy the processor like $225, and then you add on your H100, so that's like $100. Yeah, if you get it for a good deal. Like, I've seen NCIX charging, I think depending on the computer you buy, they can charge you up to $120 for it. If you buy it off Direct Canada, you can get it for like $100. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that would be like $325. So that's not bad. But you do know, the thing is, BF3 actually uses up to 8 cores. So if you wanted some, but really, it's not about. It depends how you see it. It's really about value for money. If you want, I honestly think the best processor on the market right now for the value is there's two processors. It's 2500K, but if you want to get something that's an even better deal and is even faster and has even got more cores, you could get the 3930K, which is like $570. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of money, $570. But it's a 6-core with hyperthreading. the 2500K is only a quad core with no hyperthreading. So, so although you might say, yeah, but most of the games don't even use that, but it's like it's value for money. So, although it might not be getting used to its full potential right now, you will eventually have it used to its full potential once all the games start running off of 16 threads and 32 and 64. It's gonna happen. It's eventually games are gonna become so multi-threaded that you're not gonna be able to run it off of a dual core or a quad. You're gonna need like an 8 core with quad hyperthreading. I bet Intel's gonna come out with like a quad hyperthreading, like 4 threads per core. So you'd buy an 8 core and it would have like 32 threads. I think. I don't know, but I do know Intel is eventually gonna come out with an 8 core. So yeah, yeah, but you'd have to. Then again, you always have to go with the one that's worth your money. Um, so what the hell am I? I'm just ranting right now. um, doopy doop. So so you could get so for the moment, I guess the 2500K is the way to go, or the 3930K, and you get an H100, and you basically for a motherboard, it's really simple. You go on Newegg, or well, I like to buy a Direct Canada, but if I want to search up parts, because Newegg has a really good search filter, and what I do is, let's say I'm looking for a specific motherboard that I don't know of, but I have an idea what it is. So I'm like, type in motherboard Intel on Newegg, and then you select motherboards, and then from there on you select, okay, I want it to have 1 PCI slot, such and such on my motherboard, and you'll find a motherboard that has all the features you need for the lowest price possible. So you could have a motherboard, the video card for the moment. So there's either 2 ways again for this. You go with the cheapest one that's going to do the job, which is the 7750. I wouldn't get anything lower than that, but if you're on a really low budget, you would probably only get that. So let's say you're on a budget, but you're not like that severely restricted. The video card I would get is the GTX 660 Ti. It just came out, and it's the best, the best derp. What is it called? This is the 660 Ti, not the 560 Ti. I'm talking about the 660 Ti. It's out. And it's a beast. Well, it's a beast for the money, and it uses the same type of core as the GTX 680 and 670, but you basically get all the features of those cards for $300 instead of spending 400 or 500 on or 600 or 1,000 if you're getting the 690. Actually, 690. I think it's like, this is the thing. 690 is like about $1,200, but the 680 is like 500 if you get it with a super duper deal. And the thing is, the 670 is about 5% slower than the 680, but it costs like 100 maybe 125